Well, good afternoon or good day, vinyl community. Mr. Rick back again. I thought I'd do a vinyl tag this time since it's going around, since I've been watching a lot of videos and seeing a lot of people that are doing the same vinyl tag, so I copied the questions down, and I am going to do a vinyl tag this time, and hope you enjoy it. We'll get right into it. The first question is, favorite record from your home state or city or artist. I'm taking that to mean that the favorite artist from your home state is what because they don't make. I'm from Virginia originally. I live in North Carolina, but I'm from Virginia, so I'm taking that to be favorite artists from your home community, home state or city. So I picked Virginia Patterson Hensley. Some of you may know her. Others know her as Patsy Cline. She was a Virginian from the Winchester community. And this is her next to last album that she came out with. And a good one from 1962. She did a copy of Lonely Street that was on this album, which I think she did better than Andy Williams. But Patsy Cline is my home artist, is what I'm going to call her. The next question is an album you highly recommend. That to me is like asking a question, which is your favorite album? Or if you had to get rid of all your albums, which one would you keep? I can't do just one, but I did narrow it down to 4 that I highly recommend. This is the first one. Gentleman Jim Reeves from 1962, A Touch of Velvet. This is a very good album. It's got the Anita Carr singers in it, and it was just a very good album that he produced in 1962. It's got a lot of the classics in it, All Dressed Up and Lonely, Am I That Easy to Forget, Welcome to My World, It's a Sin, and several others. Very good album, very good, enjoyable album. Another one I highly recommend is Dean Martin. Dino Sings Italian Love Songs. This album is just delicious. Of course, Dean Martin was an Italian, but he did such a great job on this album. Just Say I Love Her, the first track on side 1, is wonderful. And Arrivederci Roma. Return to Me was a hit for him. That came off of this album, and several others. But a very good album, dripping with authenticity, and that's Dean Martin. Dino Sings Italian Love Songs, also from 1962. This one's from 57. If you enjoy Mantovani, this album, I grew up with this album. My father had a copy of this album, and I love it to death. If you can listen to an orchestra. Some people don't like orchestra music. I love orchestra music, and I love Mantovani's music. This album plays the world's favorite love songs, and they're from all around the world, but they're just beautiful melodies. They're just gorgeous melodies, and I love all of them. There are a lot of songs on here, but if you see this album and you like listening to an orchestra, pick it up. It's from 1957. And last but not least, another great album. This is Nat King Cole and The Very Thought of You. When I fell in love with my ex-wife, I played this album over and over and over again because there's just so many beautiful ballads of falling in love in it. And Nat King Cole really does an excellent job here. He was a good singer to begin with in his own right, but of all the Nat King Cole albums I've got, this one is the one I picked the best. Nat King Cole, 1958. Okay, question number 3. A tip for beginners. If you're beginning a record collection and you're starting to buy records, my tip is record albums today sell for $30 or $40. I know that most of the I call them junk shops, but they're not really junk shops. They sell used stuff, and you usually find a crate of records somewhere that you can find for $1 a piece or $2 a piece. There are some collectors that collect nothing but mint condition records, and they put a lot of money into them. I'm the type of a person that I buy a record because I want to hear what's on it. And if it's got a few scratches on it, that's fine with me because that's part of record collecting. But so don't be too upset if you find an album with a couple of scratches on it. I mean, of course, if it's ruined, it's ruined. But record collecting is a pleasure, and just choose what you want and get through it just as cheaply as you can, and you'll be a lot happier. That's my tip for brand new record collectors. Okay, next question. A record that got you deeper into a different type of music. That record is Sade. I've never really been a big jazz buff, but I do like light jazz. I do enjoy jazz. And Sade was one of, when they started coming out, this one has got Smooth Operator on it. I started seeking out more of their records, and they led me to other artists. And this is, I point this as the album that started me looking into jazz and questioning what's good and what isn't. But this is a good album, Sade, Smooth Operator, from 1985. Question number 5. An obscure record that people may not know about. There are millions of obscure records that people don't know about. There are a lot of different records, and you can, I picked this one. This is from 1967. This is a no-name artist and a no-name country group. It's called The Sound Country with Billy Ranger and the Deputies. The reason, I don't even know if Billy Ranger was his real name or not. It came out on the Wyncote record label, but the songs are good, and it's just straightforward country. This guy has got an accent, a southern accent like you wouldn't believe, and he sings a lot of just old country songs. They're not even, most of the songs I had never heard of by other artists, but it's a good sound and a good straightforward country album, and I enjoy Billy Ranger and the Deputies. I've never seen another album by him. I don't even know if he made another album. But anyway, that's one of the obscure records that probably nobody knows about. Question number 6. A group that you collect and have collected all of their albums. That group is the Beatles for me. And this is the entire Beatle collection. I'm not going to show all of them because these albums are, everybody's seen them, everybody knows them, okay? But I do have the entire American version, Capitol version, and an Apple version of the Beatles. And there's the entire collection. Oh, and it's heavy. Next question. A band whose second album is better than their first. That album, again, is the Beatles. I feel that their second album was better than their first. It's got Roll Over Beethoven on it, Thank You Girl, which I enjoy, Money, Long Tall Sally, and I'll Get You in the End. That's my pick for the second album. I thought was better than the first. Show and Tell of Guacamole. Okay, I have to get up for this one. And I have to walk. This is the pop section of my record collection, by the way. But I have to not just Guacamole is when you don't look at what you're pulling out. You just pull out a record. And I have pulled out Doris Day's Greatest Hits from 1958. She's another one of my favorite singers, by the way. We just lost her not long ago, as a matter of fact. But that's her Greatest Hits from 1958. That's my Guacamole. Now let me come back over here. Answer the next question. Next question is, what album have you listened to the most in your life? That album for me is The Best of Jim Reeves. I know this album back and forth. I've heard it hundreds of times. I can drive down the road and memorize every song in order and sing all the words to it. I know every song and the order that they come with. I've heard this album, gosh, I couldn't tell you how many times I've heard it, but I'm sure I've heard it more than I've heard any of the other albums that I have. Jim Reeves from 1964. Next question. Show an album with a crazy story. That album is this Roy Acuff album. Back in the 1980s, I had a radio program. It's called Country. It was called Golden Hits and Country Classics, and it was on Saturday mornings. And I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning one morning, and I took my basket of records out to the car, and I set them down behind the car because I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer early in the morning. Then I went back into the house and got my coffee, and I walked around the front of the car. I got in the car, started the car, put the car in reverse, and backed over my records. And Roy Acuff took the brunt of the hit. The jacket is pretty well bent up, and every time I come across this album, I think of that time. I told that story on the air, and the DJ that came on after me his name was Jim Kelso. And he made a lot of fun out of it. He said, I've done a lot of things in my life, but I never ran over my records. He must be an album killer. So I always think of that when I see Roy Acuff. It didn't hurt the record album, but it just damaged the cover when I backed over top of it. So that's my crazy story. Your collecting pet peeve. My collecting pet peeve is this. When you buy a record album and it says the greatest hits, for example, this is the greatest hits of the 1930s, this one's the 40s, and this one's the 50s and 60s, you expect to hear the original recordings. But not so in this collection. Every artist that records, when they lose a contract with one record company, they automatically go to another record company, and that record company automatically wants them to re-record their greatest hits. And that's the case here. All of these records are re-recorded hits of the 30s, 40s, and 50s, and 60s. And they're not the original that played on the record on the radio back in the day when the song came out. And that's my pet peeve. I wish that if they were re-recorded, they would state all songs re-recorded. But they don't do it because they want you to buy the record. So that's my pet peeve. Next question. An album or genre that people would be surprised that you like. Steel Drums. This is an album that I grew up with. My father bought it originally. It came out in 1959, and it is a steel drum. It's an African tribute that they're playing the steel drums, and it's a good album. I enjoy listening to it. I was listening to it, as a matter of fact, this morning when I was talking to my sister, and it's just it's got a good rhythm to it, and it's just a good sounding album, and I enjoy listening to the steel drums every once in a while. It's the only steel drums album I've got, but I do enjoy that one. Question number 13. Show a record from the year that you were born. The year for me was 1958, and this is one of the top records of that year. Frank Sinatra, Come Fly With Me, with Billy May and his orchestra. This is a good album. I enjoy listening to this album. It's got the big hit Come Fly With Me, and there's a lot of other songs from around the world. Blue Hawaii, Let's Get Away From It All, Autumn in New York, and several others. But in my opinion, Frank Sinatra's years, his capital years, were his best years, in my opinion. and this was one of his best Capitol albums from 1958, the year that I was born. Question number 14. Show a 10-inch record and show your opinion on 10-inch records. I don't have any new 10-inch records. They're reprinting 10-inch records. They're printing 10-inch records. Why, I do not know. But this one is from K-Star. 10-inch records came out in 1948, and that was the answer to the 78 RPM. It was Columbia Records, actually, that started printing and had the idea of 10-inch records. And they're responsible for it. And in 1954, they went to 12-inch. Why they print 10-inch records today, I have no idea. Because when this was made, they had no concept of 12-inch records. But today they're printing 10-inch records, and they don't. Of course, you can't get as much information or music on them. I don't know. Maybe they'll start printing up 78s for all I know. But anyway, that's my take on 10-inch records. Question 15. Show an interesting fact about an album or a song. Here's an interesting fact. We go back to the Beatles again. In England, and when the Beatles came out, England records had 14 tracks or 14 songs on them. Here in America, we only got 11. 6 on one side, 5 on the other. So what Capitol did, when the first recording session came to them, all 14 songs, they took 11 of these records, or 12 it's on this album, but anyway, and they kept the rest of them, and they put them on the second album. Now, in my opinion, this is a recording session, and this is a different recording session. But because Capitol figured they'd make some extra money by it, they took records that were originally recorded on the first recording session, and they stuck them on the third, and the first few Beatle albums they did that too. And in my opinion, it's wrong. I don't know if they still release the original American versions or not. I don't believe they do. I think they all have but the American record albums, that was a wrong idea as far as I'm concerned, because I want to hear the records from the entire recording session, and I don't want to see them compiled into other albums or other recording sessions. Show an album with an animal on the cover. I picked this one. 60 Years of Country Music, with the RCA dog. In case you don't know, the RCA dog's name was Nipper. And this collection has the Arkansas Traveler. This is the beginning of country music. The Arkansas Traveler is considered the very first country music recording. And it's also got the Prisoner's Song by Vernon Dalhart, and it goes down the list into the 50s and into the 60s. But this is a good collection, and that's my pick, Nipper the Dog, 60 Years of Country Music. Question 17. Show an album with crazy artwork. I picked Boston's first album. I like this artwork. I think this was good artwork. I like the ships, and in the top of the ships you can see each one holds a city, and the earth is getting ready to explode. I enjoy that. I hope that's what they mean by crazy artwork, because I like this artwork. This is something I frame and I'm going to put on my wall. Boston's first album from 1976. Okay, question number 18. Show a really good album that you can find cheap. That for me would be Herb Alpert's Whipped Cream and Other Delights. This album is everywhere. You can't look through a collection of albums without running across Herb Alpert's Whipped Cream and Other Delights. It's a good album. It's good music. The Taste of Honey was a big hit for him. He also did the Lollipops and Roses and Whipped Cream and several others on here. But this is a good album, and it's cheap. You can find this album, gosh, if I bought every album. Every time I come across this album, I'd probably have at least 2 or 3 dozen of them. They're everywhere. It was a popular album when it came out in 1965. Number 19, an album with an acquired taste. That acquired taste for me would be the Swingle Singers. Who was the guy that did Don't Worry, Be Happy? I can't remember his name right now, but you all know who I'm talking about. The Swingle Singers did that very same thing. There are no instruments in these albums. What this is a collection of a choir or singers. They're singers. I guess there's about 8 or 10 of them. And what they did was they went into the classical era, and each one of them chose the notes of different instruments, and they just la 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 la, so to speak. And it's a very interesting sound. There are some men that they're the bass, and the women are the tenors, and they each they just kind of make the music with their voices, just la 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 and da 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 da, and just making sounds like that. It's an interesting, but like I said, it's an acquired taste. It's something if you want to, you're not going to enjoy it if all you listen to is rock and roll. I guarantee you that. But the Swingle Singers, they were popular back in the 1960s. And last but not least, show your more recent finds. I haven't been out since we've been having this shutdown. I haven't been out at all this past couple of months, but these are some of the ones that I found. This is Jo Stafford. She is one of my favorite singers. I haven't even had a chance to listen to this yet. It's Happy Holiday, her Christmas album. And I guess probably came out in the 1950s. I enjoy Jo Stafford quite a bit. She is one of my favorites. We just lost her not long ago. Here's another one. Wine Light. Grover Washington Jr. and just the two of us, a track with Bill Withers. We just lost Bill Withers not long ago also. Bill's gone now. But this is a very good album. I've enjoyed this, and it's light jazz, and it's very good. I enjoy that a lot, especially just the two of us. That's one of my favorite songs with Bill Withers. Dinah Washington and Brook Benton, just the two of us. And this is also a very good album. It's I'm glad to have it. It's got There Goes My Heart, Call Me, Love Walked In, and several others. Those two were very good together. They were very good separate too, by the way. Two very good singers. Here's Ray Price, Burning Memories. I haven't had a chance to really listen to this one yet, and I'm looking forward to it. Burning Memories was a big hit for him somewhere around 1965. I always enjoyed Ray Price. He was one of the good hillbilly singers, especially back in the 50s and early 60s. And here's another one, Ricky Skaggs. This is his second album, and it's very good also. There are several albums on it. You May See Me Walking, So Round, So Firm, So Fully Packed, Crying My Heart Out Over You. Very good, his second album. And I found The Drifter by Marty Robbins, but I was very upset with the condition of this album. I've cleaned it played it once, and it's got a lot of noise on it, and I'll be looking for a better copy of this one. You can listen to it as it plays, but it's not in very good condition. It's also a good album. And this is a compilation of the Mamas and the Papas that I found. I paid $1 for it. And it's got all their hits on it. And it's also got some early stuff that they produced. Lou Adler produced it. And it's got all the hits, of course. Monday, Monday, I Call Your Name, Creek Alley, and several others. The Mamas and the Papas. It's a two record set, and it's got a booklet that comes with it, and there's the booklet itself, and the two albums that come along with it. I haven't had a chance to look and read the story, but I'm interested in getting into that. Also, here's one. This is the Atlanta Rhythm section. I haven't had a chance to drop a needle on this one either. Champagne Jam is what this one's called. I'm looking forward to that. Don't It's got champagne jam on it. Imaginary Lovers. That was the big hit off of it, I'm sure. But I'm looking forward to a needle drop on this one also. And last but not least, here's the Average White Band. Another one I haven't had a chance I haven't even had a chance to clean it yet. But I'm looking forward to this one also. And that takes care of the vinyl pick. Hope you enjoyed it. I know I did. Some of those things took me a while to think about, and I had a hard time finding an album with an animal on the cover, I'll be honest with you. But I've enjoyed it. Hope you have. But it's time for us to get our satchel and go, and then we'll be back before long, though. Hope you keep listening for us again. And if you like our little channel here, drop us a little note in the box, and let us know if there's something I can do for you, or an album you'd like to see, or an artist you'd like to hear more from. Maybe I've got something that you're looking for. Till we meet you again, this is Mr. Rick saying that if the good Lord's willing and the creeks don't rise, we'll see you before long.